All right, hello once again. This is Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College, and as part of the Rankin Technical College AWD 1000 Web Development Technologies course, I've been creating a series of video presentations based off of the Mozilla Developer Network Learn Web Development series. I am in the CSS section, and under the CSS layout module, and we're talking Flexbox. We're almost done here, but right before I finished the last tape, we went over to the nested Flexbox. And as mentioned, by nesting this, you can create some fairly complex layouts. So they mentioned that the HTML for this is fairly simple. We have a section element. Sorry, I thought that was off. All right, sorry about that. I turned that off. So as it says, the HTML here for this is fairly simplistic. Okay. So what we have is a section, and that section has 3 articles in it. So there's the first article, the second article. The third article, as you can see, has a div in there with 5 buttons. Okay. And it says, first of all, we set the children to be laid out as flex boxes. Okay, so that's the display flex, so we're going to get that. Next, as mentioned, we set some flex values for the articles themselves. Take special note of the second rule here. This is saying we only want to apply this to the last one. Well, that's the one that's got the extra stuff on it, so you should know exactly what we're talking about there. So it says we are setting the third article to have its children laid out like a flex too, but this time we're laying them out like a column. So instead of saying flex flow row, we're saying flex flow column. And we're having 3 with 200 pixels. Next, it says we select the first div and we use a flex 1 of 100 pixels to effectively give it a minimum height of 100 pixels. Then we set its children to be laid out like flex items. So it gets fairly complex, as you can see in here. Finally, it says we set some sizing on the button. But more interestingly, we give it a flex value of 1 auto. All right. It says this has a very interesting effect, which you'll see if you try resizing your browser with. The buttons will take up as much space as they can and sit as many on a line as they can, but when they no longer can, they'll drop down to create new lines. Let's take a look at that. So right here. And you'll notice as we expand this out, there you go. Now it's 2. 3. All right. 4. And it looks like then the last one is taking up as much as it possibly can. All right. Flexbox support is available in most new browsers. Again, we've talked about this before, but I'm going to say it one more time. And that is I can come out here, I can type in caniuse.com, and I can put in here Flexbox. Boom. And you'll notice that there's very little red. Earlier versions of IE, earlier versions of Opera, and Opera Mobile, and that's about it. Now, there might be some partial support. That's these kind of greenish here, which means that you'll have to typically add a browser prefix. We'll get into that at another time. So, while you're learning and experimenting, it doesn't matter too much. If you're considering using Flexbox in a real website, you need to do testing. That should make sense. Flexbox is a bit trickier than some CSS features. We'll discuss strategies for overcoming problems with browser support, etc. later on. All right, so there is a Test Your Skills Flexbox. Would definitely be worth your time to take a look at that. So when we finish up, next it looks like we're going to jump from Flexbox into Grid. All right, and we'll talk about CSS Grid next. Be back with that shortly.